Hey,
Hey there. Hi, Marty.
how you doing? I'm just having some coffee because I needed a little pick me up.
Oh, that's great. I've just had breakfast, actually. Um, but today I didn't feel like eating much. I just had a coffee and some fruit.
I see. That's my go-to breakfast, actually. What do you normally have?
Really. I add yogurt to the fruits and some cereal on top. I think that is a good combination. I'm very like to fill me
Quite
to fill me
healthy.
up better. Yeah. I try to change my eating habits lately. Because I
Right.
normally had some cookies or things like that, but they weren't my thing really.
I see.
Um, so I decided to change it. And what about you?
Mm, it really depends on my mood, how I am feeling on that particular day.
Hmm.
But if I had to describe myself, I would say I tend not to call myself a vegetarian because I try
Hmm.
to appreciate whatever is on the table. But to be honest, it's not something I normally choose. Um, Simply because I prefer other things. I've always been a big fan of fruit, vegetables, and I really like trying out different combinations. There are so many
Uh-huh.
options. But I think this is not your case, right? I mean, you're not very fussy or particular about your food.
Not really. Like I tend to eat anything really, but if I had to choose whatever to eat, it's always meat. I can't
Right.
call myself a vegetarian. I do like vegetables as the same as you. Um, I'm not a fussy eater, but I always try to have some meats
Right.
included in
And
my
it's
dishes.
and it's very common in our culture. It's part of it's a very important part of Argentinian culture, I think. So
Yeah.
how would you describe asado to someone that has never experienced it?
To be honest, if I have to mention something, the other day we were having dinner with some friends, and one of them brought to dinner a friend of him that was an exchange student.
I see.
And yeah, she was from Germany. So she had no idea about asado, empanadas, or any local dish. And we actually had asado. And now that you mention it, it's very difficult to try to explain our local dishes to the foreigner. Normally, because we try to really explain that asado. It's not just the dish per se, but it's actually like the social event.
Experience.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, eating. I mean, the typical dish, if we describe it, involves grilling various cuts of meats, not typically beef, over an open flame or grill. But
Right.
this idea of translating asado simply as barbecue doesn't capture its cultural significance or the variety of meats and the specific cooking method, let's say. And this idea of um, let's like a shout out to the griller and all
I was
these, like
thinking about that.
it's not the same if we don't actually like if we just translate it. I don't know if you agree or if you can think about any other food typical of Argentina that you can describe. Let's say, what about alfajores, for example?
Oh, that's a good question. I think I don't really have a sweet tooth, but alfajores are something that I absolutely love. I like to have one of them from time to time. And I would say they are a type of cookie sandwich that is
Mhm.
often filled with dulce de leche and coated with dark chocolate or powdered sugar sometimes. I
Yeah,
prefer the ones with chocolate though. But the
me
same, the
too.
same happens to me. I think that just calling them a cookie sandwich doesn't do justice to what they really represent. I really associate them with my childhood, for example, like one day coming
Yeah.
home after a long school day and having one of them as a special treat.
Yeah, I know that you know the recipe of alfajores. Um, and is it difficult? I mean, are they difficult to make?
I don't think so, but I do think it's a good idea to make many. And the thing is that you can't eat all of them, right? So
Mhm.
you can prepare that if you're expecting some friends over or maybe to give a present to someone. I do think that
That's nice.
homemade food is really special and it's something that I really enjoy.
Yeah, and it's a nice gesture also. But now talking about that, I think that it's a good discussion to have like this
Absolutely.
idea of if we should translate food names or not,
And I
right?
think as teachers, this is something
Hmm.
that we see very often in the classroom.
Totally.
For me, it's a fascinating topic because I think it's a good idea to try to maybe not translate them, but at least to learn the vocabulary to describe
Hmm.
at least what the dish is made of or what's the recipe for that. Because then you meet someone from a different culture and you want to explain that and you realize you don't have the words
Hmm.
for that. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
And even though you do not use the translation,
Hmm.
at least you have the ability to describe it at the like most extent. To at least before the person maybe trying out this food, they can have a picture of
Yeah.
what it is like, or they may be able to compare it to something that maybe they do know from
Yeah.
their culture. Um, but in a way, it's important to take pride in our culinary traditions and to share them with the world. So
Exactly.
whether
And
it's mate, choripan, or as you said,
so many
dulce de
options.
leche, yeah, um, each dish has its own story and significance. So,
Absolutely. And
mhm,
don't get me wrong, I do think it's interesting and very helpful to discover the history behind the language you're trying to learn because
mhm,
it gives you a better understanding of why we speak in a certain way or the origin of certain expressions. But I think it's important to try to keep the language we are learning connected
mhm,
to our own personal stories because after all that's the vocabulary you will probably use in your daily life, you know?
totally. Yeah. And there are different ways that we can incorporate new vocabulary. What I tend to do, because even though we are English teachers, we are still learning because again, it's a
There's always
language.
something new. Yeah.
It's endless and it's always evolving. So we're always learning new things. And I do like watching cooking programs.
Ah, yeah.
Uh, my favorite one is the one that Jamie Oliver hosts.
Right.
He has different programs, but I think that he's super clear to be understood, let's say. And again, he mentioned in one of his programs, he was making a dessert. I don't quite remember which was. I don't know. I think it was a cake, but he used dulce de leche and he tried to explain it. And he
Really?
said, "Okay, it's an Argentinian." Um, how did he say? I don't quite remember, but he said it was an Argentinian, very traditional, sweet, um, sweet thing. I can't really remember the words he used, but again, like being exposed to language helps a lot to learn
Yeah.
these words. And
Something that I used to do, sorry for the interruption, when I was watching one of these programs and I found interesting vocabulary was to write them down immediately, at least on
Mhm,
my phone notes,
that's
So
great.
then when I had some free time, maybe while I was going back home in the bus, I used to like review them
Mhm,
and try to use them in context because I think repetition is key. If you just
yes.
listen to them and then you don't repeat them or incorporate it, they'll go away.
It's non-use. Um, and whenever you learn a new word, I like start listen to it everywhere. I watch a TV show, I watch a cooking program, I'm maybe I'm reading an article, and I start like like gripping this word wherever I go to.
And you
It's
start to
crazy.
find them everywhere. That's true.
Yeah, yeah.
And what
Um,
about cooking? Is that something you enjoy?
a lot. I don't have much time, maybe to cook as much as I would like to, but whenever I have some spare time, I like cooking, and particularly sweet things. My signature dish, you can say, or maybe my friends say that, is my special brownie that I gave it a twist to
Okay.
it, because I not only make the brownie, but I also add dulce de leche as a cover, and then on top, uh, chocolates. So it's very sweet. So if you are not a sweet tooth, and if you are into savory food, I wouldn't say that it would be your cup of tea, really.
But maybe a small piece.
It will be fine. Yeah. And what
Right.
about you?
I do like cooking also. The thing is that I have the same problem. During the week, it's quite hard because it takes a
Mhm.
lot of time. Maybe not cooking, but cleaning, I would say. That's
Yes.
like the worst part. But during the weekend, I like especially baking some pastries, I would say. Um, and I think it's a type of therapy in a way.
Mhm.
I used to not like it, but
Mm.
now I can see its charm, and I think it really takes me to another world because you are so focused on what you are doing that you can relax.
And you can do well. I'm very multitasking person. So whenever I'm cooking, um, I try to find something to listen to, maybe a podcast
Yeah, me too.
or my favorite Taylor Swift playlist. Um, but again, as you said, it's a therapy moment in which you can enjoy not only cooking, but just spending time doing something that later on you can enjoy too, because everything
Then you
ends
have your
up being
prize.
super tasty. Totally. Um, so it's a good thing.
Yeah.
I've been trying out new recipes lately, and I do like Italian food a lot. I would say
I think
that
it's
it's
one of my
my
favorite
favorite one.
cuisines. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Not only pizza, but eggplants.
Yes, I
Um,
love them. I would
I
say
love
aubergine, but
aubergine. Yeah, you have eggplant for US and
exactly.
aubergine for UK. But I think it's a food. It's a vegetable that you can do in so many different ways, and it's delicious. So I've been trying cooking that with mozzarella and also tomato sauce. Super tasty. Yeah.
That sounds
I've
perfect.
been eating that lately, and at the same time, it's very healthy. So
Absolutely.
we got a good combination there.
Yeah, I like that.
And
And it's not hard to cook it, It's so
no,
flexible, as you said.
yeah, yeah. And what about spicy food? Are you the kind
Not a
of
fan.
person who? No, me
No.
neither.
Definitely not. The thing is that I'm not used to it. So
Mhm.
whenever I try something, maybe for other people, that's okay. But for me, it it's something that really burns my tongue, and I don't
Yeah.
really enjoy the experience. And I feel the need to drink a lot of water. And
Oh yes.
actually, I think that's not a good idea. That's what I've heard.
Yeah. And I think something that you mentioned is very important to bear in mind is that if you are not used to it, maybe it's not very good for your health
Yeah.
somehow. Maybe trying some things, it's okay, but not too much,
That's why when
I
I'm
guess.
cooking, I try to keep it simple. So I don't really add a lot of spices because
Hmm.
I'm not sure I know exactly how to use them, how to combine them. And I'm scared of ruining the final
No.
effect of it and then not being able to eat it.
Once, oh my God, I'm going to tell you an anecdote.
Please.
I had a big fail some time ago. One of my friends gave me a recipe for a carrot cake.
Okay. I love that. It's one of my favorite
Uh-huh.
types of cake, I think.
You know which spice does it have?
Cinnamon, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah, and what kind of a spice is that? It's a very strong one, right?
Yes, definitely.
All right. So my friend sent me the recipe in a WhatsApp message, and
Yeah.
she said a spoon of cinnamon, and not like a small, like a little spoon, a teaspoon. She said just a spoon. And my carrot cake ended up
No.
being brown. And instead of being a carrot cake, it was a cinnamon cake. It wasn't. It
Right.
wasn't. It was eatable in a
Okay.
way, but it wasn't what I expected it to be
Mm,
like. So then I started realizing the importance of reading and following the recipes.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
super,
tend
super
to
carefully.
improvise a lot, but in some cases it's not a good idea, I know. And have you
In
tried
bakery,
again?
I guess. In
It's
bakery, you have
harder,
to
right?
follow. Yeah, yeah. Yes, I tried it again and it ended up being great, as it was supposed to be like. So,
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, good one. I think
um,
we all experience those moments when we are trying
yeah.
out different recipes.
And the important thing is trying, and then the next time is going to be fine. But it's again as learning anything.
Of course,
Maybe the first time is not best one, but then with some experience, it turns out to be something great,
right.
and super appetizing in this case.
And it is a cliche, right? But I do think mistakes are what really teach us the lesson. Like in that
Mhm.
case, I'm quite sure that won't happen again.
No, definitely not. Um, and again, we have different types of food um, to try to cook or bake. And I think the important thing is trying out which ones are the ones that you like the most.
Yeah.
So trying out new things, it's a go-to as well.
And do you like bittersweet food, for example, like Hawaiian pizza with pineapple?
Not I'm not a particularly fan of it.
It's
I
a
do
love it or
like,
hate it dish, don't you think?
but I do like the tuna pie. Here in Argentina, um, we add some sugar to the top of the pie, and that for me, it's something that I truly enjoy.
Mm,
It's something that for me is really mouth watering, particularly my mom's.
yeah.
um, but besides that, I'm not really into um, that kind of food. What about
Yeah.
you?
Me neither. No, it's definitely not my cup of tea, but it's amazing how I think our tastes, especially in relation to that, really depend on the way in which we grew
Mhm.
up. And
Yeah.
yeah, you can incorporate other habits and we can learn to eat better, for example. But I think it depends on that, like the different memories you associate with that, you know?
Mhm. And now I'm starting to think about um, traditions in general. It's incredible how, even though that as part of the same culture, we tend to eat the same things on special occasions, but still each family has its own traditions as what to eat on Christmas, on New Year's Eve, and on birthdays, maybe. So it's incredible how
Right.
variable it is, right?
Yeah, it's not only a question of changing our habits from culture to culture, but even from
Mhm.
family to family. You're right.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
do you have any family recipes that you share from generation to generation?
We do for Christmas. We on Christmas Eve, since it's very hot in here, we tend to eat cold dishes.
Same.
But um, I do believe that um, there are certain things that are part of everyone's Christmas night. That is turkey. Yeah, eating
Okay,
turkey.
yeah.
But we make a twist to it, and that needs to be kept as a secret. But
Okay.
but we tend to eat turkey also.
Right.
Um, so that's a good thing. Do you have any special dish that you tend or that you ask for your birthday?
Not really. No, I
No?
don't think so. I mean, we normally prepare some cake
Mhm.
and I like to decorate it, but no, off the top of my head, I don't think so. Do you?
Yeah, I tend to ask my mom to cook her special chicken with potatoes dish with homemade mayonnaise. For me, is a top notch. I would say that that is something that I always ask her to make for special occasions in which I'm like the main character. I remember asking her to make that for my graduation dinner
I
with
see.
my family. Yeah, and for my birthdays and all that. So we
Well, it's
typically
nice to
eat
have
that.
something like
Yeah,
that. Yeah. It's
yeah,
amazing to think how socially important food is for us, you know?
yeah.
Like every time we get together, we think about that. That is the first thing, the first question you ask your friends. Hey, you're coming over? What do you want to eat today?
Yeah.
And as I said, I personally like preparing something for them.
Mhm. And now that you mentioned hanging out together and all that, yesterday I met with my brother. The first thing I said was that um, I'll take ice cream. Ice cream is something that for us is very important to have as
You
a
can't have
dessert,
enough.
even though it doesn't matter if it's winter, spring, autumn, or summer. Ice cream is something that we eat all season.
Yeah.
Um, and I watched a program uh, in which the host was surprised that in Argentina we have ice cream delivery, and that we eat ice cream in
That's
a
true. I've
small
heard about
small
that too.
quantity. Yeah, like we eat a kilo or half a kilo, but a lot. And people in Europe or in the US, Australia, or in different parts of the world, they tend to eat just a cone. So it was he was awestruck to get to know that, and for us it's super normal. Like
Yeah.
we go and grab ice cream
Mm,
like that, and we share it. We
yeah,
share the same flavors.
that's key, I
Um,
would say.
mhm,
Like food is the center of social gatherings.
yeah, especially, and as you said at the beginning, um, it's great to cook for people, even though that you can cook for yourself, of course. But it's nice to show your love and
Mm,
affection by sharing something that you have made. Um,
absolutely.
and I think that is one of the best things about cooking for others.
Yeah.
Um,
And
and
to be
something like
honest, I mean, of course, I try to eat consciously, but
that. Hmm.
it's not the same when I'm on my own because I wouldn't really prepare something big because then I don't really know what to do with that. But if
Hmm.
I'm cooking for other people, I can try out different options,
Yeah,
and yeah, it's nice.
I'm thinking about homemade pasta that for yourself maybe um, you wouldn't take the time or the effort
Absolutely.
to actually cook that much for yourself. But if you're with someone else and you say, okay, let's make homemade pasta, and it's so easy to make, but still, again, it takes time, and sometimes we tend to um, decide to put something else first, like to I don't know, cook super fast,
Yeah, some
and
nibbles.
then yeah, being able to do many things and prioritize and not being um, that relaxed.
Yeah.
So that is a true fact.
And when we get together to share some meal, we tend to arrive with a lot of time in advance to
Yeah,
chat.
yeah, and maybe the person who the host is cooking, but we are there, and we maybe pour some wine or something to
Right.
drink, and we talk about our
Mm,
day. And again, we give so much importance to the social aspects, um, and that is what makes cooking so special as well.
yeah. Yeah, I think it's quite universal, this feeling.
Mhm.
Um, like food is really important in our societies,
Yeah, and I think that well, this is my case, but I love getting to know new places. But for trying out the food there, I had the opportunity to travel to different countries, very different ones. I've always tried to try their local food
mm,
to try to get to know the culture better, because this, the same as happens to Argentinians, they have typical dishes that are part of their culture. And the
right?
same that happens to us with mate, alfajores, dulce de leche, the same happened to other people with their particular dishes. So
Yeah.
it's good to do that.
I think that's a good idea. Unfortunately, I think because this is so important for me, I tend to feel a bit homesick whenever I'm traveling and I really miss my eating habits. But
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a great idea if you can try different things and maybe you discover something nice that you can incorporate to your daily
Mm-hmm.
diet.
Yeah, but if you ever feel homesick when you are traveling abroad, I think that since nowadays everything is so globalized,
For sure.
you can find something connected to your your country and your
Yeah.
culinary traditions of your country, because we can find Italian, Spanish, or Argentinian food anywhere. So
Yeah, you've got a
maybe
point.
if you're feeling
That's
homesick,
true.
you can go and now Google something or some place to
Yeah.
go to grab some milanesa or a sandwich or some
And it's
alfajores if you
so
feel like
easy
it.
now because you can
Yeah.
find everything online and you can even read the reviews.
Hmm. That's a good thing.
Is that
Um,
something that you do? Like, do you check the type of, do you read the menu in advance, for example, before choosing a
um,
place?
not really. And I hate actually
Surprise!
being, yes. And once you are seated and you have to ask for the menu, and nothing really calls your attention or calls your appetite, better said, you're like, okay, well, I have this, but it's not something that really, really
Mm,
um, got your eye.
yeah,
So I hate that. I should maybe start changing that and checking first.
yeah,
Are you the kind of person who checks the reviews, for example, before
I
going to
do.
a place?
I do. I check the menu and the reviews, but only because I think it's a special event, let's say. Like it's something I don't do that often. I eat in my house most of the times. So when I do that, I really want to enjoy the experience. Otherwise, it's a
Mm-hmm.
pity when you are there thinking like, I could have eaten better at my own place, you know?
Mm-hmm. Something that I do, now that I think about it, is asking friends. Maybe I do not read online reviews, but it's always a friend's recommendation, like, "Hey, have you been to this new
Yeah.
place?" And they said,
And you know
"Yeah,
you can
but
trust them.
it's not worth it," or "Yes, you should definitely go." Um, yeah, I tend to do that a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
That's true.
so
This is a
yeah,
fascinating topic, don't you think?
I love
Like
it.
there are
Yeah,
so many things to explore.
and you can connect it to many things as well.
Absolutely.
Um, yeah. But I think that it would be good to um, save some time to go and cook something, right? Because
That's
maybe
sensible.
it's almost
Yeah.
lunchtime. So I would go and make something tasty, and later on I can talk to you about it.
And send me a picture, please, because I think I'm
Of
feeling quite
course.
hungry actually after this chat. So this is sensible.
All
So I'll
right.
see you next
So then,
weekend.
see you, Marty. Bye bye.
Bye.